Phil Collins is not your run-of-the-mill rocker. I mean, he could challenge James Brown's reputation as the hardest-working man in show business. In 3 years, he's released 3 hit albums, produced records for other stars, toured the States and Canada with Genesis, then Robert Plant, and finally on his own. And the album he produced for Philip Bailey gave us the #1 hit, Easy Lover. His soundtrack for the movie Against All Odds won a Grammy and should have won an Oscar. And his latest album, No Jacket Required, rose to #1 in a matter of weeks, as did the first 2 singles. Plus, in his spare time, he produced Eric Clapton's latest album and was the session drummer for the Band-Aid single. I'd tell you more, but we only have 90 minutes tonight. And all of this is from a balding, short, unshaven, wide-tied, slightly overweight, mature musician who keeps his pants up with suspenders and keeps his spirits up with an amusing look at himself. We'll have a trivia question for you, but first, we might as well start tonight's interview with the basics, like Genesis.
Well, we do things so infrequently now that, of course, there's not a lot of momentum. We just tend to, which is good for us, to be honest, because by the time we get back together again, we've had a lot of time away from each other to be rejuvenated, to wanting to get back together again, you know. We do individual things, solo things. Tony and Mike have done other projects apart from the Genesis thing, as well as myself doing my things. So when we come back together after 2 years of not touring, maybe, about a year and a half it's probably been, by the time we end up in October working together for an album, it would have been a year and a half since we were on tour. And that keeps us fresh, so it's good fun still being in the group, you know. There's the 3 of us and we write music from scratch. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Yeah, well, when I first started playing seriously, I mean, I've been playing since I was 5, but when I first started playing seriously, I went to read drum music, you know, because I was convinced that after pop, there was then dance bands and stuff like that, big bands, and then after that there was orchestra pits, and I was destined to run, you know, around, you know, taking my drums to a theatre, putting them in the orchestra pit, playing a show during the evening and doing sessions during the day. So I would need to learn, because that's how I was thinking long term of the craft, as you say. But I soon realised that isn't really, you know, that it doesn't really work like that. I take it seriously. It's not the be-all and end-all of what I do, I suppose. I mean, there is life after music. But, yes, I think there is anyway. I don't care anymore. I don't care no more. Oh, I think I'm always bothered by criticism. I think everybody does. Everybody must be bothered by it. I mean, you can say, oh, I don't read that stuff. It doesn't bother me. But really, you know, if someone says something nasty about you, or something negative, you want to know why, and you want people to like you. You know, it's a human nature. It's funny because you go to these countries and they can't understand what you're singing. I mean, Japan, for instance, they don't really understand English, although they'll sing along word perfect to the song you're singing, you know. And they must have a gist. They get more feelings from the emotion of the music, which is why Genesis, for instance, were very, very popular in Italy, for instance. It was the first country that ever took to Genesis because of the romanticism in the music. They didn't need to hear what the lyrics were about because they felt the music, you know. And I think that's very important. And that's probably one of the reasons people just like, I mean, for obviously Australia is an English-speaking country, so it's more daunting when you go to a place like Japan and South America and places like that really don't know, but they just get a feeling from the music, I guess. And also, I mean, music has infiltrated so much advertising. You know? I mean, when the Beatles started, and everyone said this will last 10 years, that's the end of it. But suddenly, you know, everything you hear, commercials on television, everything is rock music. Varying degrees of rock music, and it's just infiltrated everywhere. So it's really not surprising that countries like that take it. Take a good look at me now, 'cause I'll still be standing here, and you coming back to me is against all odds. It's the chance I've gotta take. I mean, I'd get stuck in the elevator with 3 or 4 65-year-old women. They say, I know you. You're You Can't Hurry Love. That guy, you know, Phil Collins. I mean, he's 65 years old, and you get kids of 8 and 9, the same. So it's reaching everybody, which is good for me. But I mean, it's not a bad thing, I don't think, is it? No, it can't be a bad thing. Overexposure, I guess, is something that haunts me. I just like to work, you see, so it's very hard to say no, I'm not going to do something just because I'm afraid that people might get fed up with me. So I just tend to go for it anyway. I mean, fortunately, some of the things that I do, like the production things, are a backseat role, really. Producer is a backseat job. It's only because I've had a few records that people know about that they tend to sort of say, produced by Phil Collins, and there I am, slapped back out front again. But really, apart from Genesis and my thing, the producer's thing to me is something that I'm trying to learn something about. So I don't really do it as a starring role, you know.
Grab yourself a pen. That is such a great cut. Sussudio, the second single from No Jacket Required. And that album is what we have to give away this week. 25 copies are up for grabs. We're going to give away cassettes, but it's much nicer to hold up an album, don't you think? All you have to do is answer the Phil Collins double trivia question. What was his first #1 North American hit? And name the Canadian co-writer of the song. Our mailing address is Good Rockin' Tonight, CBC, Post Office Box 4600, Vancouver, BC, V6B 4A2.
I've always been mostly influenced by British acts. Started with the Beatles, but then it was Yes and Genesis, very strong influences in my music. Elton John, his early stuff, very, very strong influence. And I just feel close to that style, and I don't know, I have a Canadian passport and I have a British passport, and it's like, I think I've been more affected by the British music scene, probably because they've always been, to me, they've been more the innovators.
Always at the front.
You see, and that's what I admire. That's what's, to me, the best part of rock and roll. That's what's kept it going so long. And when it becomes reduced to a formula, which has happened quite often in North America, that's going to take years off its life. And so I feel I love the British scene, and I love it when but America and North America is still the acid test.
This is Good Rockin' Tonight. I'm Terry David Mulligan. This is Howard Jones. Howard, this is Canada. Canada, this is Howard Jones.
Hello. Hi.
They like you out there.
Oh, that's very nice to know.
This is a very hot place for you. It's Canada.
Yeah.
From coast to coast, especially Toronto. Is there a particular reason why?
I don't know particularly why I think maybe because I've played Toronto about 3 times.
Yeah.
So it's sort of built up over a period of time. Whereas, like, some parts of Canada, I've only been, once. This is my first time here in Vancouver.
I think what we find interesting is your Canadian connection.
Yeah, that's right.
How long were you here?
Well, a total of about 3 years. I lived in Ottawa for 3 years, but what happened was my family emigrated over to Ottawa and then emigrated back and then came out again and then went back again. So it was like a shuttle service across the Atlantic. So we can lay claim to you. How old were you? Well, when I first came, I was 9. Yeah. And when I left, finally, I think I was just coming up to 14. Did you learn how to play hockey? Well, yeah, street hockey. Yes. I wasn't that good a skater, so I never did the proper ice stuff, but we played street hockey. That was great. Were you playing piano? Yeah, but I wasn't doing the two at the same time. No, of course. You've been described as mild-mannered, unexceptional looking, by rock standards, certainly ordinary. And yet you seem to end up keep talking in terms of Duran Duran and Wham. How would you describe yourself? Well, I don't really sort of bother thinking about sort of how I fit in with a scheme. I just know from the start what I wanted to do was to present ideas and things that I thought were very important in using the thing that I was best at, which was writing pop songs. Yeah. So really, that's all I've ever done. I don't really sort of look at what going on around me particularly. I just always thought this is what I wanted to do, so I just do it. And the ideals that I set out with, fortunately, you know, I'm still doing them now.
What did you learn from this What Is Love shoot? Did you like this one?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed it because we filmed it in Paris because it was about love. You know,
In Paris?
Paris, yeah. It's got that romantic association with it. But the actual song is having a go at the idea of romantic love, but was still the right place to shoot it, I think. We had you know, lovely weather. It was just sort of very nice lighting. And also the French actors that we used in it were actually really brilliant and incredibly natural. So it worked out really well.
Had you taken any acting?
Oh no, I don't consider myself to be an actor at all. I suppose when you do when you go on stage, you do play a role to a degree, but I never think of myself as an actor. I don't try and be an actor.
The person now here,
Yeah.
and the person who plays tonight,
Yeah.
changes a great deal?
It changes as little as possible. What I try and do, I try and make what I like on stage to be as close to Howard Jones as possible. It's just like it's a bigger projection of it, I suppose, because you have to deal with, you know, thousands of people rather than just one or two. So really, I just try and magnify what I'm like normally.
Pearl in the Shell. I wonder how close to truth Pearl in the Shell is for you. It's about unrealized potential.
Yeah.
Taking chances and risks.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Well, I think it's really important. I mean, I try and take as many risks as possible all the time. Like, for instance, I'm doing the Live Aid thing, and what I decided to do was to do a song which is completely without any instruments at all, just vocals, because like that's the most risky thing I could think of. And I'm using 3 girl backing singers called Aphrodisiac who are going to do it with me. So it's the 4 of us just singing without any backing. It's quite fun.
Right. Humans Live, debuting at #1. I don't think that would ever happen in North America.
No, I think no.
Anybody?
No,
I mean,
no, that's true.
I mean, the British when they love the music, they love the music.
Yeah.
Were you as stunned as everyone else?
Yes, yes, I was. Absolutely delighted as well. You know, it happened, but yeah, I was.
It changed your life?
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Was it also a great yes to you for all of these thoughts that you had about that people wanted to hear the lyrics to the tunes,
Yeah.
the music itself?
Yeah, because people had told me that. Well, they told me this about lots of things, but one of them was that you couldn't write lyrics that meant something in pop music because people just weren't interested in that. Well, it isn't the case. I think people are very interested in lyrics.
Okay.
Take it very seriously.
Sure. The difference between American and British charts.
Yeah.
Please tell me.
Well, I suppose you know the thing that people pick up on most is that careers seem to don't last very long in Britain.
What's the line? 20 minutes of fame.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, well, I suppose it's because things happen so quickly at home, and there's a constant churning of new people all the time, which is good, really. And it's sort of, I suppose, if you want to have some longevity, you have to really think about it very carefully, and you have to disappear for quite a while, then come back. Whereas in, North America, it's much more dependent on a long-term thing. You know, touring is very important, and you know, there's so many radio stations that things happen much more slowly, which you can have a much longer career.
Yeah, you can also find things like Jim Reeves and the Sex Pistols at one time up against Barry Manilow. I mean,
yes,
cacophony of stuff happening over there.
That's interesting.
Does anybody call you Howie?
Rarely.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
I don't mind. I get called Hojo as well.
Hojo. Where did that go? Was it here?
That originated in America. Actually.
Yes, only American and North America would do that.
But when I was at school in Canada, they used to call me Howie all the time.
Howie?
Yeah.
Howie Jones.
Yeah.
Did anybody try to change your name?
No.
I mean, when you get into business.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
No, that was one of the things I definitely wanted to do because I regard the name Howard Jones as being pretty ordinary.
Yes.
And for that reason, I wanted to keep it.
And it was important for you to be ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, accessible. I mean, the kind of thing I want to get over is that, you know, when I do a gig, for instance, there could be the chance that anyone in the audience could be up on the stage and I could be down there. The roles could have easily been swapped if circumstances had been different.
Really optimistic, Howard Jones. I like that about you. There's so much pessimism going on in the world.
Yeah, there is, isn't there?
In your own personal lives. I don't know about you, but I don't have time for people who are pessimistic.
No, I think it's really important to be realistic and you know, acknowledge that of all the problems and all the things that go on in the world. But if we are going to carry on, if we are going to change it, if we are going to do anything about it, then a positive attitude is the only kind of practical thing to have. That's what I just view it as practical, and not some kind of dreamy state. But you know, as I think everyone feels the benefit of a pat on the back and a shot of energy.
Sort of a small M message.
Yeah.
All right. Who was that you were kissing?
Oh, that's Jan. That's my wife.
Right. Good. It should be Jan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're in deep trouble.
All right. Yeah.
Who would you call your musical friends? Who do you spend time with? Who do you exchange ideas
Well,
with?
I mean, at this stage, you don't actually spend that much time with anybody because, like, when you meet up with these people, I don't actually come from London, so I didn't know many of these people beforehand. So when you meet up with them, you're meeting up with them in the middle of, like,
A show?
yeah, I mean, they might be doing promotion in the German village that you're doing promotion in. You say, hey, and have a drink, and so when you get back to England, must have a drink. Yeah, fine. And of course, you get back to England, they're in Australia, and you're in Australia, and they're in Los Angeles or something. It's really difficult to pin anybody down. But I suppose Howard's a good friend, and Elton John has become a good friend as well, which is nice. But you don't actually get that much chance because you haven't got that much time at home yourself.
What were you like as a kid?
Well,
Is it important as well?
Yeah, I started off being very quiet and doing well at school, all that kind of thing, and being a good boy.
Bookish?
Yeah,
Yes.
and then suddenly there was a change. I got completely disillusioned with school, and I just rejected it. I thought, this is no use to me at all. I became a real rebel, and I became very withdrawn and got a few friends, and didn't enjoy myself very much. Except, actually, my time in Canada at school was good. I did enjoy that, but that was about it.
I wonder how different you'd have been if you'd stayed in Canada.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that, actually.
You'd be living in Toronto and a folk artist or something. Albums, per se. When you record an album, you just record the album, or do you think in terms of singles as well?
I think of... That's a good question, really. I do think in terms of singles, yeah. But only because I really enjoy thinking in a singles format, you know, about what's going to appeal to a lot of people. That's what I want to do.
Is the ultimate buzz hearing it on the radio? Driving down the street?
Yes, it is, especially when you're away from home.
Which is more important to you, being in the studio or live?
Live.
Right. Okay, fine. What are the, other than Live Aid,
Yeah.
what are your plans now?
Well, I'm going to Australia and Japan after 3 weeks of being home, and then coming back to North America in October, and we're going to be doing some more Canadian dates then, and all around America.
Tour, and more tour.
Yeah, because I think well, for me, it's really important to tour because that's when you get in real contact with the people that like what you do.
Are you getting to know who those people are?
Yeah, it surprises me often, and like the range of people who sort of, you know, get into the music, and for the reasons, different reasons. It's great.
You want to say anything to those people out there? Right there.
Yeah, I do. I want to say thanks very much for supporting me, and I hope you get something out of what I do.
Okay.
It's my pleasure.
We want to thank you for joining us, and good
It's my
luck
pleasure.
tonight.
Thanks.
All right.